Hey, before we dive in, drop a comment below with your city or country, and give this a like if you can't stand nosy, prejudiced neighbors. Also, subscribe to my second channel for more drama-filled stories, links in the description. There's something about Thursdays. They feel like the universe is holding its breath, waiting for Friday's exhale. This particular Thursday in April started like any other. I'd put in a solid 9 hours at Harper & Associates, where I'm a senior financial analyst. I'd just closed a major account that had been teetering for weeks and was looking forward to a quiet evening at home. My name's Marcus Tate, and after years of grinding, I'd finally saved enough to buy a modest but cozy house in the Crestwood neighborhood. It wasn't the ritziest part of town, but it was calm, well-kept, and most importantly, mine. The 3-bedroom colonial at 42 Oakwood Lane was the culmination of everything I'd worked for since earning my MBA from Morehouse College. At 34, I was right on track with my 10-year plan, maybe even a bit ahead. The day had gone smoothly. My presentation to the board had impressed even the usually stoic Mr. Harper, who flashed a rare smile when I outlined the projected quarterly earnings. To treat myself, I decided to stop by Grayson's Market on the way home, not my usual grocery spot, but the upscale organic place with those imported Swiss chocolates that pair perfectly with the 18-year-old Glenfiddich I'd been saving for a special occasion. Tonight felt like it qualified. I was still buzzing from my professional win when I pulled my slate blue BMW X3 into my driveway around 6:30 p.m. The April evening was pleasantly mild, with a light breeze stirring the budding leaves on the oak trees lining the street. I'd gone a bit overboard at Grayson's, grabbing not just the chocolates, but also some prime New York strip steaks, fresh green beans, and a few other impulse buy 6 grocery bags in total, enough for 2 trips from the car to the house. I just popped the trunk and was grabbing the first load when a sharp voice sliced through the quiet evening like a knife. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" I turned, bags in hand, to see a woman I'd never met storming across my lawn. She looked to be in her late 50s, with platinum blonde hair yanked back in a severe ponytail that seemed to tug at her face. She wore a faded lavender tracksuit and cradled a yapping, pint-sized dog, some kind of teacup breed that looked more like a glorified hamster than a canine. "I'm sorry," I said, genuinely confused by her tone and her presence on my property. "Don't play dumb with me," she snapped, her face twisting into an exaggerated scowl that might have been funny if it weren't so unsettling. "I've been watching you. I know what you're up to." I glanced around, half expecting a hidden camera crew to pop out. "Ma'am, I'm just bringing my groceries into my house." I emphasized the last 2 words, shifting the bags and nodding toward my front door. "This is Laura Bennett's house," she declared with unshakable certainty. "And I know for a fact she's visiting her cousin in Denver." I took a deep breath. I'd heard about encounters like this from friends and read about them online, but I naively thought my suit, my luxury SUV, and my well-maintained property would shield me from such assumptions. Clearly, I was wrong. "No, this is my house. I'm Marcus Tate. I've lived here for almost a year," I explained, forcing patience, wondering if reason could pierce her wall of certainty. The woman, who I later learned was named Cynthia Hayes, narrowed her eyes and clutched her dog tighter. "Laura's a dear friend of mine," she insisted, despite no Laura ever owning my home. "And she definitely didn't mention selling her house too." She trailed off, leaving the implication hanging. "To someone like me?" I finished, my voice steady despite the familiar sting of indignation. "I'm calling the police," she announced, already fumbling with her phone. "We'll see what they say about this." I had a choice: set down my groceries, go inside, and hope the police would be reasonable, try again to convince her I lived here, or stand my ground and document everything. "Ma'am, I'm going to keep bringing my groceries into my home," I said calmly, moving toward my door as she jabbed at her phone. "Man, what's your emergency?" I heard the dispatcher's voice as I stood there. "Yes, hello, this is Cynthia Hayes at 40 Oakwood Lane," she began, her voice suddenly syrupy. "There's a man breaking into my neighbor's house. He's got Laura Bennett's groceries and is trying to get inside her home." I paused, keys in hand, and turned back. "Did you just say I'm stealing groceries?" "These are my groceries." She covered the phone briefly. "We both know those aren't yours," she hissed, then returned to the call. "Yes, he's a tall black man in a suit, very intimidating. Please hurry." The absurdity might have been laughable if it weren't so dangerous. I was being accused of stealing my own groceries and breaking into my own home on my own porch. This Thursday had veered far from my planned quiet celebration. I set my bags down and pulled out my phone to record. Documentation would be my best defense. As Cynthia approached my property line, her dog still yapping, she declared triumphantly, "The police are on their way. They said to keep an eye on you." "That's fine," I replied evenly, ensuring my camera captured her and my house. "While we wait, I'll get the rest of my groceries, the ones I supposedly stole. Don't you dare touch anything else." Cynthia shrieked, her face reddening to match the fading sunset. "Those are Laura's things." I took another deep breath. "Ma'am, I don't know any Laura. I bought this house from the Thompsons last July. You're mistaken about both the house and the groceries." She scoffed so dramatically I thought she might strain something. "The Thompsons? They moved years ago. Do you think I'm stupid? I've lived here for 15 years. Then you should know the Thompsons lived here until last year when they moved to Raleigh for Mr. Thompson's job," I replied, recalling my closing paperwork. "I bought the house through Riverside Realty. My agent was Karen Mitchell." Cynthia's expression flickered, maybe recognizing the realtor's name, but she doubled down. "Well, whoever sold it had no right. This is Laura Bennett's house." At that moment, a sleek Lexus pulled into the driveway across the street. A middle-aged white couple, David and Ellen Carter, stepped out, eyeing the scene curiously. David, in casual golf attire, called out, "Everything okay, Marcus?" Relief hit me. The Carters had welcomed me to the neighborhood with a bottle of Merlot and local restaurant tips when I moved in. "Not really, David," I called back. "This lady thinks I'm breaking into my own house and stealing groceries." David's face shifted from curiosity to concern as he and Ellen crossed the street. "Cynthia, what are you doing?" Ellen asked, her tone suggesting this wasn't Cynthia's first neighborhood outburst. "Protecting our community," Cynthia declared, chin high. "This man is breaking into Laura Bennett's house." Ellen exchanged a confused look with David. "Laura Bennett? From the book club? She lives on Cedar Street, not Oakwood, and she sold her place 3 years ago to retire in Florida." "Not that Laura," Cynthia snapped. "Laura Bennett, who lives right here." She jabbed a finger at my house. "Cynthia," David said slowly, like explaining to a child, "this is Marcus's house. He's lived here almost a year. We had him over for the 4th of July potluck, remember?" Cynthia's dog wriggled free, darting across my lawn and knocking over a grocery bag, sending my steaks tumbling. "See," Cynthia exclaimed, pointing at the spilled groceries. "Those are exactly the steaks Laura buys prime New York strips. This proves it." Her mental gymnastics were Olympic-worthy. I couldn't help but laugh, which only enraged her further. "You think this is funny?" she demanded. "Breaking into homes, stealing groceries?" "What I think," I said, keeping my phone steady, "is that you saw a black man in a suit unloading groceries from a nice car and decided he couldn't possibly live here. So you invented a fictional homeowner named Laura Bennett to justify calling the police." "How dare you accuse me of racism?" Cynthia gasped, clutching at her non-existent pearls. "Some of my best friends are black." The classic line nearly made me laugh again, but approaching sirens cut through the air. My stomach tightened. No matter how absurd this was, no matter how right I was, years of experience and news stories warned me that interactions like this could turn dangerous fast. "David," I said quietly, "would you mind sticking around while the police sort this out?" "Of course, Marcus," he replied, understanding immediately. "We're not going anywhere." As the police cruiser pulled up, Cynthia rushed to meet the officers. Two emerged, a young white officer, barely out of the academy, and an older black officer with graying hair and a seasoned expression. "That's him." Cynthia pointed at me dramatically, as if I were a wanted felon. "He's breaking in and stealing groceries." The older officer, whose nameplate read Officer T. Brooks, exchanged a glance with his partner before approaching. "Good evening, folks. I'm Officer Brooks. This is Officer Daniels. We got a call about a break-in." "Yes," Cynthia interjected. "This man is trying to break into Laura Bennett's house and stole her groceries." Officer Brooks turned to me, his expression neutral but sharp. "Sir, could I see some ID, please?" "Certainly," I said, moving slowly to retrieve my wallet. "I'm Marcus Tate, and this is my house." I was bringing in groceries from Grayson's Market when this woman accused me of theft and breaking in. I handed over my driver's license, which showed my Oakwood Lane address. I also have my house key, mortgage statements, and utility bills inside to verify this is my residence. Officer Brooks examined my license, then handed it back. And these groceries? He asked, nodding at the bags. I bought them at Grayson's, I replied, pulling out the receipt. Here's the receipt, dated and time-stamped. As Brooks reviewed it, Cynthia's outrage intensified, her face cycling through expressions of fury and disbelief. This is ridiculous, she exploded. He's obviously lying. Laura would never let her house go till she caught herself, but not fast enough. To what, ma'am? Brooks asked, his tone deceptively mild as he returned my receipt. To someone she doesn't know, Cynthia finished weakly. Uh-huh, Brooks said, unconvinced. Sir, any other proof of residence besides your license? I have my house key, I offered, showing my keyring. And mortgage documents inside. I'd be happy to get them. Brooks nodded. That'd be helpful. I'll come with you if that's okay. Before we could move, Cynthia interrupted, her voice hitting a pitch that set her dog barking again. You can't let him in. He's a con man. He probably faked his ID and receipt. Laura would never sell without telling me, her best friend. Ma'am, Officer Daniels said, his young face stern, please lower your voice. David and Ellen stepped forward. Officers, David began, we live across the street. We can confirm Marcus has lived here almost a year. We were at his housewarming. There's no Laura Bennett on this street. Ellen added, Cynthia's mistaken. Cynthia whirled on them. You're all in on it. The whole neighborhood's conspiring against me. Brooks's expression shifted to concern. Ma'am, are you feeling okay? Of course I'm not okay, she snapped. I'm watching you help a criminal break into my friend's house. More neighbors had gathered, watching with expressions ranging from concern to amusement. Mrs. Lopez from 2 doors down was filming, while the Carter teens snickered openly. Officer, I said calmly, I'd like to file a report against this woman for harassment and making a false police report. She's causing a disturbance and has made racially charged accusations. Cynthia's eyes bulged. How dare you? I'm the victim, protecting my friend's property. Brooks sighed. Sir, let's establish your residency first, then we'll discuss reports. I nodded and led Brooks to my door, unlocking it with a smooth click. The door opened to my living room, modern grays and blues, framed hip-hop vinyls on the walls, and a sleek upright piano I'd splurged on after my first big bonus. Family photos lined the mantel. Me with my mom at graduation, my brother's kids at a family barbecue, my late grandmother in her nurse's uniform. Nice place, Brooks commented, nodding at the piano. You play? Since I was 8, I replied. Helps me unwind. I gathered my mortgage statement, property tax bill, and utility statements. Outside, Cynthia's protests grew shriller, countered by Danielle's calm responses. The crowd had grown, forming a semicircle around Cynthia, Officer Daniels, and my spilled groceries, which a teen, Ethan Carter, was helpfully collecting. Sir, Brooks said upon returning, I've seen enough to confirm you're the legal resident. He turned to Cynthia. Ma'am, there's been a misunderstanding. Impossible, Cynthia insisted, though her voice wavered. Laura never told me she sold her house. Because Laura Bennett never lived here, Ellen cut in. The Thompsons did before Marcus, and before them, the Wilsons. I've lived here 18 years, Cynthia. There's never been a Laura on this street. Cynthia's face flickered confusion, embarrassment, then defiance. Maybe you're thinking of another street, Daniels suggested gently. We can help you find your friend's address. I know where she lives. Cynthia snapped, but her certainty was crumbling. Ma'am, Brooks said firmly, we need to discuss your call. You reported a break-in and theft that didn't happen. False reports are a serious offense. Cynthia's eyes widened. I wasn't lying. I genuinely believed a well-dressed black man couldn't live here. The neighbors went silent, the air heavy. By assuming the worst about me based on my appearance, I said, despite my house key, my car, my suit. It wasn't about race. Cynthia insisted. It was about. About what? Brooks prompted. I've never seen him before, she blurted. How was I supposed to know he lived here? You could have introduced yourself like a normal neighbor, Mrs. Lopez suggested, still filming. That's what we did when Marcus moved in. The collective rebuke hit Cynthia hard. Her shoulders slumped, her dog whimpering in her arms. Officers, I said, making a snap decision. I'd like to press charges for filing a false report and harassment. Cynthia's head snapped up. You can't be serious. It was an honest mistake. Was it? I countered. You claimed I was stealing groceries and breaking into a house that belongs to a fictional person. You escalated a situation that could have been a simple conversation into something dangerous. Brooks nodded. Mr. Tate has grounds for a complaint, ma'am. False reports are a misdemeanor fines, even jail time. Cynthia paled, swaying slightly. Jail? But I'm the neighborhood watch chair. I'm on the community board. Since when? Ellen interrupted. The watch meets quarterly, and you weren't at the last one in March. Another puzzle piece clicked. So you've been pretending to have an official role? I asked. Cynthia's gaze darted, finding no allies. Someone has to keep this neighborhood safe. Crime's up everywhere. Actually, Daniel said, property crime's down 10% in this district. The real threat, I said quietly, is people escalating situations based on baseless suspicions and prejudice. Brooks pulled out his notepad. Ma'am, I need your name and address. This is ridiculous. Cynthia protested. Do you know who my husband is? No, ma'am, Brooks said, pen ready. Who's your husband? Cynthia hesitated, her bluff faltering. He's an important businessman, Richard Hayes. He dines with the governor. Isn't Richard Hayes the guy fired from the tech firm for ethics violations? A neighbor called out. Cynthia spun, searching for the speaker. That's a lie. He took early retirement. Name and address, please, Brooks repeated. Mumbling, Cynthia gave her address, 47 Oakwood Lane, just down the street. She'd seen me for months, but never bothered to learn who I was. Officers, I said, pivoting. I'd like to modify my request. Instead of charges, I'd prefer an alternative resolution. Both officers and Cynthia looked surprised. What kind? Brooks asked. I faced Cynthia. Mrs. Hayes, your actions could have had serious consequences for me, the officers, and actual emergencies. I propose you make amends to benefit the community you claim to protect. A public apology here, a $5,000 donation to the youth center on Pine Street for after-school programs, resignation from any neighborhood roles, and enrollment in the city's diversity and inclusion workshops. Neighbors murmured approval. And if I refuse? Cynthia asked defiantly. Then I press charges, I said simply, and pursue civil action. I'm a financial analyst, but I know excellent attorneys who'd love this case. Brooks cleared his throat. That's a reasonable alternative, ma'am. I'd consider it. Cynthia scanned her neighbors' faces, finding no support. Fine, she whispered. I apologize. For what exactly? I prompted. Her jaw clenched. For calling the police without cause, assuming you were trespassing, causing a scene, and she hesitated, Ellen staring her down. Making assumptions based on appearances. It wasn't a full admission of bias, but it was enough. Apology accepted, I said. For the donation, $5,000 is appropriate, given the stakes. It's tax deductible. Cynthia gasped. That's extortion. It's less than legal fees, I countered. And voluntary. You can choose charges instead. Her internal struggle was visible, but she relented. Fine. $5,000. I want a receipt. Of course, I said. The youth center provides documentation. The workshops start next Tuesday at the community college. I'll have Officer Brooks give you the details. How do I explain this to Richard? She muttered. I'm sure you'll get creative, I replied, like with Laura Bennett. A few neighbors chuckled. Mrs. Lopez muttered. Got her, as she lowered her phone. Are we done? Cynthia asked, dignity frayed. Almost, I said. Your resignation from community roles. Fine, I resign, she snapped. Brooks closed his notepad. Mr. Tate, satisfied with this? I am, I said, provided Mrs. Hayes follows through. If not, I'll pursue charges. Understood, Brooks said. We'll document this. Mrs. Hayes, I suggest you comply. It's generous. As the officers left, Cynthia retreated, dog clutched tightly, to her house. The neighbors lingered, the air charged with a new dynamic. Marcus, Mrs. Lopez approached, phone away, you okay? I'm fine, I assured her, though the adrenaline crash was hitting. Not how I planned my evening, but it ended okay. That was brilliant, David Carter said, shaking my hand. The way you flipped that situation? I've never seen someone backpedal like Cynthia. Thanks for the support, I said. I didn't expect everyone to step up like that. Don't thank us, Ellen insisted. Cynthia's been a busybody forever. She once reported the Nguyen kid for suspicious activity he was delivering flyers. And she called animal control on Mr. Lee's lab for aggression when it was just chasing a ball. She reported my son's birthday party as a gang gathering, another neighbor added. 10-year-olds playing laser tag. Cynthia wasn't just prejudiced. She was the neighborhood's self-appointed enforcer, policing everyone with her own warped standards. Today, she'd finally gone too far. Well, I said, eyeing my groceries, I should get these inside before they spoil. My celebration dinner's delayed. Celebration? Ellen asked. Closed a big account today, I explained. The Harper deal. Major portfolio management contract. That's more than a solo dinner, David declared. We're firing up the grill. Bring those steaks over. I've got a Pinot Noir that'll pair perfectly. Before I could respond, Mrs. Lopez added, I've got flan left from my book club. Plenty to share. Within minutes, the ordeal had morphed into an impromptu neighborhood barbecue. Families grabbed sides, desserts, and drinks, while David and his son set up chairs on their patio. What started as a confrontation became a genuine community moment. At the Carters' backyard, string lights glowed, and the grill sizzled. I glanced at Cynthia's house, where silhouettes argued through the blinds. Her conversation with Richard didn't look pleasant. As we ate, I bonded with neighbors. Mr. Nguyen was in urban planning, sharing insights on city growth. Mrs. Lopez, a retired history teacher, debated Wu-Tang Clan's best album with me. The Nguyen kids attended my alma mater, sparking campus stories. By 9 o'clock, as we savored steak and wine, a hush fell. Cynthia stood at the patio's edge, holding a check and a foil-covered dish. I wanted to deliver this in person, she said, voice subdued, handing me the check. For the youth center. $5,000, as agreed. I took it with a nod. Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. She thrust the dish forward. These are my pecan bars. They won at the county fair. A peace offering. Everyone froze, waiting for my response. I peeled back the foil, revealing neat pecan bars. Thank you, I said. Care to join us? The invitation stunned her. I don't think that's appropriate, she stammered. I just wanted to apologize again, sincerely, to everyone. I've been difficult. Today was a wake-up call. Her husband appeared, looking uneasy. Cynthia, we should go. I've registered for the workshops, she added quickly. First session's Tuesday. I'm glad, I said. I appreciate the gesture. Ellen stepped forward. Cynthia, when you're ready to be a neighbor, not a vigilante, there's a place for you here. Cynthia nodded stiffly and left with her husband. Well, David said, that was unexpected. Pecan bars, huh? Mrs. Lopez eyed the dish warily. Anyone brave enough? I'll try one, Ethan Carter declared, grabbing a bar. I laughed, setting them aside. Let's stick with steak and good company for now. The night flowed, conversations shifting from Cynthia to careers, families, and summer plans. By midnight, I'd made real connections and had invites to barbecues, a book club, and golf. Walking home with David, groceries in tow, I felt a new sense of belonging. You know, David said. Weirdly, we should almost thank Cynthia. Without her stunt, who knows when we'd have done this? I chuckled. I'll skip the thank you note, but I get it. Sometimes the worst moments spark the best connections. Golf Saturday, he asked. Absolutely, I replied. But fair warning, IVE got a decent handicap. Perfect, David grinned. We'll be mediocre together. Inside my home, I felt gratitude for both the space and the community. The evening hadn't gone as planned, but it was better than I'd imagined. 3 weeks later, the Laura Bennett incident became neighborhood legend. Golf with David became a weekly ritual, as did Tuesday drinks after volleyball games. Mrs. Lopez's book club was more about wine and gossip than books, but I loved it. The youth center donation funded new STEM equipment, and my finance talk to their teens using sneaker and streaming analogies was a hit. Cynthia kept a low profile, spotted only walking her dog or grabbing mail. Per Ellen, She was attending the workshops but stayed tight-lipped about them. One Thursday, sorting mail, I got a surprise visit from Officer Brooks, now in plain clothes. "Marcus," he greeted, "got a minute?" "Always," I said, inviting him in. "What's up?" "Something interesting about Mrs. Hayes," he said, amused. "Ever hear of a blog called Community Sentinels?" I shook my head. "Nope. It's where busybodies post about protecting their neighborhood's kids skateboarding, wrong lawn signs." Cynthia was a top poster as Vigilant I-47, multiple daily rants for years. My eyebrows rose. "There's more, isn't there?" "Yesterday, she posted a full retraction," Brooks said. "Detailed the Laura incident, admitted her bias, and called the workshops life-changing. She linked a youth center donation page, raising over $25,000 in a day." I was stunned. $25,000? From a blog. "It's got 60,000 subscribers," Brooks said. "The admin tried pulling her post, calling it woke nonsense, but sponsors threatened to bail, so it's back up with an apology." I laughed at the irony. "So Cynthia, neighborhood menace, is now an accidental advocate?" "Yep," Brooks said. "Her posts inspiring other precincts to try your resolution model community service over charges." "That's wow," I said. "I just wanted accountability, not a movement." "Sometimes the right move ripples," Brooks said. After he left, I read Cynthia's post, "How I Became the Threat I Feared." It was raw, honest, detailing her bias and regret. The final paragraph hit hard. "I spent years on this platform warning of threats to our community, blind to the real danger, my own assumptions. I saw malice where there was none, judging based on appearances. If this sounds like you, step back before you're the next cautionary tale. Our neighborhoods need neighbors, not vigilantes." The comments were a mix of outrage and praise, with the donation tally nearing $28,000. Robert texted about an emergency HOA meeting to discuss the post's fallout. I replied, "Wouldn't miss it." The meeting, packed in the community center basement, buzzed with energy. Judge Margaret Ellis presided. "Most of you know about Cynthia Hayes' viral post," she began. "It's brought attention news outlets, the mayor's office, civil rights groups. How do we respond?" Ellen spoke. "Cynthia's behavior was wrong, but her apologies a step forward. Many would have doubled down." "True," David added, "and the youth center's thriving. But she's made us look bad." Mrs. Nguyen countered. "People will think we're all like her." "Actually," I said, "most reactions praise our community for holding her accountable. It's a chance to show how we handle these issues." After 2 hours, we agreed on a statement supporting Cynthia's growth while emphasizing inclusivity. A media committee formed to keep the focus on progress. Walking home, David noted Gerald Hayes' brief, disheveled appearance at the meeting. "Heard he and Cynthia are splitting," he said. "Her post was the final straw." "That's tough," I said, meaning it. I didn't want her life ruined. "Karma's funny," David mused. "You took the high road, and she's punishing herself more than any lawsuit could." 2 months later, the media frenzy faded quickly, replaced by a political scandal. I declined most interviews, doing one thoughtful piece on bias and belonging. Life at 42, Oakwood Lane settled into a vibrant rhythm. I hosted colleagues, joined the HOA's finance committee, and became Uncle Marcus to the Carter kids, helping with algebra and piano. One evening, tutoring Sophie Carter, my doorbell rang. Sophie answered, then called, "Mr. Tate, it's for you." Cynthia stood on my porch, holding an envelope, her look softer, looser hair, simple jeans, no defensiveness. "Mrs. Hayes," I said, stepping outside, "this is unexpected." "I wanted to give you this," she said, handing me the envelope. "It's just look." It was a deed transfer for a lot next to the youth center, donated for a playground or garden. "This is generous," I said, impressed. "Why give me a copy?" "You're on their board," she said. "And you're why it happened." "The workshops ended last week. Our final project was addressing harm we caused." "This is mine." "They helped then?" I asked. "Life-changing," she admitted. "Painful, but I was blind to my privilege. Also, Richard and I are divorcing not just because of this, but it started me questioning everything, including a marriage where casual racism was normal." "I'm sorry," I said sincerely. "Don't be," she replied. "I'm moving to Seattle for a fresh start." "Good luck," I said. And thank you. You could have sued or ostracized me, but you chose a path that led to change. That was the goal, I said. Punishment doesn't change hearts. Accountability can. It did for me, she said, glancing at her watch. I should go? Sophie's probably texting the neighborhood. I chuckled. Probably. One more thing, she said, taking a breath. I'm sorry, Marcus, for what I did, the danger I put you in. I'll regret it forever. I appreciate that, Cynthia, I replied. Apology accepted. She nodded, lighter, and walked away. Sophie confirmed her mom and others were en route, curious. We finished her homework as neighbors arrived, eager for details. Later, on my porch with my Glenfiddich, David joined me. So, he said, Cynthia apologized, donated land, left her husband, and is moving all because you brought home groceries. I smiled. Life's unpredictable. Ironic, David said. Her trying to protect the status quo changed her life and our community. I raised my glass. To unintended consequences. And groceries, David added, clinking his glass. As the sunset painted the sky, I reflected on the journey. I'd bought this house for independence, but an act of prejudice had given me something greater: belonging, purpose, and community. Cynthia had tried to exclude me, but instead, she'd cemented my place here. There was a poetic justice in that, not cruel, but balanced, like finding exactly where you belong. Another round? David asked. Absolutely, I said,